wonderfully blessed to be here today at the lovely studios of Forever Grateful. We are going to be talking today about honoring fathers, the legacy, and the journey. I'm so appreciative to have this wonderful panel here with me today. On my right is Mr. Kessler. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.
You are so welcome. And on my left, I have Daryl Williams.
Thank you. Thank
You're
you.
welcome with us again. And definitely last but not least, we have Mr. Lavelle, aka Lamont.
Okay.
Because I know you may say something new today. So, guys, are all of you dads, and how many children do you have?
I have a total of 8 children.
Wow.
Yes, yes.
That's
yes.
gonna
We're a
keep you-
blended family.
Wonderful. That's going to keep you young for a long time.
Definitely,
For a
definitely.
long time. And Mr. Darrell,
4.
4.
Yes.
Mr. Lavelle,
I have 2.
2. So there's a lot of wisdom here at the table.
Oh yeah.
Is
I
being
believe so.
a father easy? Or did you think that this was going to be an easy process, or has it kind of stretched you in ways that you didn't know?
Being a father has been very challenging. And even though you're a father, you can still learn from your kids.
Oh, that's good. That's good. Because most people who are in that father role, they always feel like they're the ones that are doing the teaching
Right.
and that all the wisdom comes there. But that says a lot. When you can open up yourself to learn from others.
Yeah, I mean, it's a blessing. It obviously brings a lot of joy to your life when you have children, but at the same time, trying to find that balance of when it's time to let them go and feel those, find their way, and because like Brother Kessler said that we are never too old to learn something from somebody else, and sometimes these children, our world has evolved and changed a lot from when we were children. So you would be surprised as some of these the wisdom of some of these kids these days. You could learn a lot.
They're very smart.
Yes, indeed.
It's been an honor. I think that's the only way I can evolve to get into a godly like role, because he is the ultimate father. So I think that my journey being a father, I've endured it, I've embraced it, and I love it.
Good. So when you guys were growing up, were you model kids, or did you need a little spanking every now and then? Or what do you remember most about your dad when you were coming up?
Well, I grew up as the baby of five
Were you,
children.
were you spoiled?
I probably should have been spoiled,
Mm-hmm.
and probably was spoiled, but I didn't consider myself spoiled.
Okay.
I think I have other brothers that are probably spoiled, but growing up, what I remember most about my dad was a very hard worker, very stern, and he was also evolving.
Okay.
As he got older, what I realized is that he got more gentle, but he was more growing up, more of a provider, more of a disciplinary. And then as I got older, I was able to see more so the more gentle giant side
Yes.
of him.
And why he needed to be a disciplinarian.
Right, exactly.
There. What's one of your favorite childhood memories of your dad?
Oh wow.
And did you ever get a spanking, or were you really good all the time and you didn't need any spanking?
No, I used to see those bad kids like these guys on TV get those spankings. So I did see that, but I every once in a while, just so to seem fair, I say okay, I'll take one for the team. I
That's
get
right.
a whipping here or there. But I mean, one of the things that really stands out to me when I look back on my childhood is my dad has always been a hard worker. He came from a large family where he was the oldest brother that had to fill the shoes of the male figure in the house. So my dad always wanted to make sure that our lives were a lot better than what he grew up.
That's good.
And so with my dad, the thing is, my dad showed his love by being at all of my basketball, football, track, all the events for us. Anything we wanted, he would get provide for us. But everybody, my dad is more like the tough love type father. So I guess the way he loved us was the way he showed us love for us was by providing, being there at those events. But that stuck with me now because my dad has always worked hard to make his money, but he gave it away. He made sure that everybody else was happy. So I think I inherited that type of mentality that I've always been guilty of making sure everybody else was good. Oftentimes, even before myself, not neglecting myself, but that characteristic, giving,
kind
like
of
the
followed
characteristic of giving, being a giver. I
Yes.
think I took that from my dad.
And tough love is good sometimes and is really necessary sometimes too.
I don't recall my dad ever spanking me. My mother did most of the spanking. Our dad was more of a, he was more of a, I would say he was more of a therapist. He kind of laid down the laws, and we were afraid of him, so, because, that authoritative voice. Mom did all the spanking. Dad did more of the teachings, and he always gave us options. He said, if you do this, this is going to be the consequence. So Dad, kind of taught us options of life, and Mother was more than just man. So we kind of feel that authority, but he was more of a talker, and he was actually more of a counselor.
That's good. That's good because it's good if you can actually talk. Because a lot of times kids don't feel as though they can talk with their parents, so they end up talking with someone else. But the communication lines definitely need to be open, so it's good that everybody can be safe. And speaking about communication lines being open, if anyone would like to call in, pose a question to our panel, or make a comment, please feel free to call in at 713 570 9040. That number once again is area code 713 570 9040. So they were showing some of the things that like fathers face, and one of those things is being able to provide for their families financially. One of the other ones, and we can talk about them separately, the other one is being able to find employment. Is something that they said was, pretty hard for them, being able to find employment so that they can sustain their family, but also being able to have that balance between work and balance the family. Because a lot of times you may have a father that's having to work 16 hours a day, but my goodness, when he comes home, he doesn't really have a lot of time.
Right.
For the kids, it's not that he doesn't want to, it's just that he's trying to find that balance there. Have you ever felt like, I'm always looking to see how can I be a provider? I think you kind of touched on that too, at one point. Has that ever been like the main thing at the forefront? How can I be a provider? How can I make sure that my family has everything financially? And I have a comment on that too when you finish.
Right. So, as young men growing up and having examples of fathers that worked, it's kind of ingrained in you too. That is your job. That's what you're supposed to do. Provide for your family.
Right.
Almost by any means necessary. And so, me having a path. I went to college, graduated. Had some careers. You typically place the responsibility before your talents or your gifts. So you find yourself working in careers or areas of life where you're the provider and you're doing it based on the responsibility, which would be family, children, etc.
Right.
But then you find yourself as you get older trying to get back to those talents and gifts that are supposed to make room for you.
Right. Sometimes I know we always talk about it, everyone wants to be providers for the family, but sometimes it's okay if you can't provide everyone's need because that's not the reality of the world. And so many times now we have kids that are struggling to survive. When times get tough, they don't know how to survive because they haven't seen it in the family. Whereas in certain families, if dad gets laid off, then what does mom do? We have to reinvent the budget here. The kids get to see that, which is pretty good. But in the households where sometimes everything is just always there. They fall apart when things start falling apart. So I think it's good sometimes if they can see that dad has to go out there and work. So when I get to a certain point, and I still remember you said knowing when to put them out there, because some kids don't know, or some guys don't know how to get out and work.
Right.
They're dependent on the lady that they're with. I've seen guys, they will stay at home, they will lay on that sofa, she's out there working, when she comes back they're still waiting for her to do, and that's because they haven't really seen that, hey, my dad's out there busting it out there,
Right.
just to make sure we have it. So I think sometimes, we have to focus both ways on that.
Yeah, I think the dynamics of relationships have changed quite a bit lately from the old time when our grandparents may have been, I mean, like economics has changed all this. Because in the old days, grandfather may be out working, the mother would be there to take care of the children in the household. So now you fast forward to 2024, it doesn't cost the same now to survive that it cost back then. But I think too much emphasis has been put on labeling a man a provider. The word provider is not only monetary. You know,
Ooh,
to
that's
me,
good.
I think too much emphasis is put on monetary
Right.
contributions when it comes to providing.
Right.
In a household, your time that you invest with the children, you know, the things you do around the house, there's so many other areas that you can be a provider in outside of just coming with the paycheck.
Shelling
Right.
the money out.
You know, and then
Yes.
right now with the household dynamic of a lot of times it's a single household, single mother, kids being raised by single mothers. I mean, now the children that's involved in that type of relationship is no fault of their own. You know, a mother is nurturing, and sometimes the mothers don't know when to, cut off the Similac and Enfamil, and so whereas you got a 21-year-old in your house still laying on the couch like you mentioned, not seeing that work ethic of a man, what he's supposed to do. She's still washing his clothes, folding them like a wash and fold type of service, and so they're not driven to get off that couch and go out there and work. So I think, like I say, you got to get back to the foundation of what does provider mean.
Right.
Is not just coming home with the finances.
Right.
It's a multitude of things.
And how do we work together when one is lacking in one area?
Right.
Someone can probably pick up the slack.
Right.
In that
That's
area.
true. That's true. Because I had a friend that called me actually yesterday, and he was telling me, because sometimes we forget, because I grew up, my family, we were poor, and so we had to work for everything we got. So nowadays, economically, a lot of us parents are better, and we tend to give instead of allowing our child to work for it. He called me, a friend of mine. He said, "Hey, I'm finna buy my son a car," and I'm like, "Okay, and then what?" I said, did your dad buy you a car? He said, "No, I had to work." I say, "Well, okay, if you want to buy him a car, why don't you say, okay, I'm going to purchase the car, but you pay me X amount of dollars." Make him appreciate that, And he said, "You're right." Because I made that same mistake. I bought my son a car, paid cash, and taught him how to check the oil. And then, he never checked the oil and burnt the motor out. And then my grandma, my mother went behind my back, bought him another car.
Oh.
He never checked the oil. Guess what? He got a job, got his own car. He checked
Check
the
the
oil,
oil.
everything. It's a big difference.
Sweat equity. Sweat
Yeah.
equity. I believe that they, even if you do bless them with a car like you say, they have to have some skin in the game too.
Right.
At least he could work towards paying his insurance.
Yeah, I did buy my first car. I'm a daddy's girl, but still being a daddy's girl, I saw my dad work, and so I still remember my first car. They came with me to pick it out, and ever since then, I bought every car thereafter. And my parents just believed there was discipline there. I think I got one spanking. One spanking from my dad. My mother's the one who did most of the spanking there. But we were just always taught to be responsible. We were always taught to save, put so much money to the side, and don't take out a lot of, don't rely on other people so much. Rely on what you have there, and you just make a way or you do without.
So that shiny red Maserati out there, you did all that, huh?
Well, no. I'm believing that God is going to bless me with a Rolls Royce. Yes, and that He's going to show me how to get there. If it's a gift, that's fine. I think we appreciate things differently, but still, there's upkeep. So one of the questions, because we had like a little mailbox, and one of the ladies, she said, it is good that men are in the household, because she said boys need to see male presence. She goes, there's certain things the father can do or the male presence that I just cannot do. She says, I remember when I was trying to potty train and I didn't have a husband. She's like, okay, what are we gonna do with this now? She goes, I'm gonna do my best, but she says, there's still something, like you said, women are nurturing, but there's still something to be said about having a male presence in the home. And I know what a lot of people are saying now. Well, I raised all of my kids by myself. There was not a man there. We're not saying that it can't be done.
Right.
Just like if we're out there working on a project or a job, if I'm out there trying to work on it by myself, yes, I can get it done. But when I have a unified front, it can be more effective, and we can get it done probably you can see something that I can't see. And we can also get it done probably a little bit faster. I'm not saying faster is always the key, but sometimes help is needed, because I've heard a lot of single mothers say, yes, I'm doing it, but I would appreciate some help there. So do you think that we have a void sometimes, or that they definitely need that male figure?
A male figure is definitely needed in the home, but not just a male figure.
Exactly. She said that too.
A male figure that understands the responsibility that goes along with being a father figure, or a husband, or a boyfriend, or whatever. So there's a responsibility with the position of the male figure, whether it be the title of a husband or father. That responsibility must be accepted and lived up to.
Right.
So, and first thing that needs to happen with that person that accepts that responsibility is understanding what the responsibility is.
We all need to be on the same page.
That's to live by example.
Right.
Especially when you're trying to raise kids, because it starts with the individual.
Right.
So.
Now, one of the other things she brought up, and you all can comment on that, she says what happens a lot of times she didn't necessarily say it was her, but she just said a lot of times when a lady has been raising her kids for a long time before someone comes in, she's so busy nurturing, and she's saying, like, you can't do that to my kid now, or you can't discipline them, in a certain way. I don't want you to take total control here, because I've been doing this for a while now, and I want you to be careful. She puts limitations on how he comes into the household to deal with the kids.
So you set up the situation wrong from the get-go, because of, you tell a man a lot of times when you've been in that position, I want a man to come and treat my children as if they're their own. I want a man to lead. I want a man to do all these things. But you put these limitations, as long as you don't, you can't whip him, or you can't do this, or you can't do that to the children. So the first thing, y'all are out of order. You gotta be on the same page with the parenting methods, and just define what the roles are. So it's like you say that you've struggled with having to do everything yourself all this time, but then if you are blessed enough to get somebody that's willing to come in, especially a man that's coming in willing to take the role of a father to a child that's not his biologically, is a blessing in itself. And like Kessler said, it takes the right kind of male figure. not just a
Not just
warm body,
anyone,
not just
yeah.
just a man, a warm body in the house. So, um, if you want everything to fall into place and be in order, you also have to know when to fall back and to allow that man to father this child who's not his biological child, or whatever. Because I mean, anybody that can produce, partake in the activities to make a child doesn't qualify them to be a father.
Right.
You could be some child's dad because you played a part in the process of him coming into the world.
Mhm.
But for a man to come in and truly want to be a father to his own children or ones that he inherited through the relationship, there has to be some synergy between the two parties to work together towards a uniform type
Right.
of front.
And the kids still need to be respectful.
Mhm.
They can't be disrespectful just because it's like, well, you're not my daddy, so you're not going to be able to tell me what to do. So at that point, everything is kind of breaking down because then you can't really discipline, you can't really say anything to give wisdom when it's time. So that sets up something that's really not good. And that's going to be whether it would be a father coming in or a female coming in to the relationship. Your thoughts, Mr.
I want to piggyback off Brother Kessler. He said it can't just be a male figure.
Yes.
And we have, on my journey, I have learned the difference. There are men and there are males. There are females and there are women. And when we deal with animals, we say male and female. When we deal with humans, we say man and woman. So this is where we are. A man is going to show up. There's no way. If he's a man,
Right.
his presence is going to be felt with the kids. If it's the step kids, and you cannot douse his fire. A man gonna be a man. So the problem that we're having, we got many males in the world and many females, and that's what's having children, and that's what's getting married. Very few men, very few women in this world. Sorry, but I have to tell the truth. And so when a female comes across a real man, she's never had a real man. So when Daryl steps into the life, she's going to reject that because she hasn't saw that. She has in her mind what she wants a man to be like. That's not what God say a man is. Most women visualize and they put together a man before he gets there and say, this is what I want. And so when this man approaches a real man of God, real men, they reject you because they've never had you. Sorry, but I'm telling the truth today.
That's okay. That's good. That's what we want. That's what we want.
Because the lines are blurred. We come into a situation feeling as this is what you say you want in your life, in your child's life. But then after all of the rejection of every time I try to take one step forward, I get knocked down. I'm taking 2 steps backwards. So at a point you start to get discouraged and you start to feel as if, am I just here for monetary reasons, just to help pay these bills or what? And so, and it's generational things too. I mean, it's a lot that goes into this, how your childhood may have been. Was there a father in the household then?
Right.
Your scars, seeing your mother or your parent struggle to raise you and your siblings,
Right.
and then you go out and you meet somebody, you marry, and it don't work out for whatever reason is. Now, your view on men is established from what you saw at the beginning. Then you finally get out on your own 2 feet and run into similar challenges. So that fear or view of men, is tainted because now you see men as they're gonna let you down or whatever, just because of something that may have happened in previous. So you never truly let go. You kind of 1 foot in, 1 foot out, want to straddle the fence as if, should I surrender to him? Should I submit to him or not? Because I don't see right now on Instagram and TikTok and all that, they not really putting a lot of energy into submission and surrendering. So that's where they learning how to be a woman. I mean, how to be a wife or whatever.
But communication, once again, plays a part in that. When you come together with your family, there needs to be ground rules set. When you go to work, there are ground rules set, and we know if we don't follow the protocol that there are consequences. So in the household, if we are like you're on one side, I'm telling them they can do one thing, I'm telling the other, the kid knows, well, she said I couldn't do it. Okay, so I'm gonna go to the other boss in the household and I'm gonna see, he said I could do it. Now the other one should know you well enough to know that I don't think he really said that, but let me check first before just saying, yeah, go ahead, you can go out with your friends, and do things of that nature. So you have to communicate and you have to be together and you have to stick together on what it says. You can't just be like, oh, they want to go out. You know that sometimes it's not right for your kids to be out at 3 o'clock in the morning when they're 12 years old, 13 years old. There's something that goes off in here that says that's not right, but the kid keeps like, oh, can I please? It's like, okay, well, I want to be a good parent. A good parent is not always saying yes to everything. A good friend is not one who's constantly saying yes to everything. Like you were saying, wisdom. There has to be someone that says something. We have someone I know. Her son was 15. He wanted to go out to a party, and I'll give credit because she told him no, he could not go out to the party. He found a way to sneak out of the house through the window. He went to the party, got killed at the party, 15 years old, there. We never know, so it's kind of like saying no doesn't mean I don't love you. When your parents say that or father says that, it doesn't mean I don't love you. It's just that I'm concerned about your future and where things may lead you to. One of the other things, there are some women, and I have heard some of them say that they want to make sure that the man can provide for them. They want to make sure that he can take care of all the financial responsibilities, things of that nature. I'm not so concerned about so much other stuff, but it's kind of like what gifts and stuff he can give me. That's not very healthy either.
Yeah.
And it's not fair to the father. That's a lot of pressure. They were saying that too. A lot of times the father feels there's a lot of pressure, on them to be able to be like an ATM machine, because there are things that are going on in the household that won't allow him to. I do want to commend right now, because there are several fathers I know that have had to raise their kids on their own, by themselves. One day, the wife just got up and she said, I don't want to do this anymore. I don't want to be a mother anymore. And then they're not there, or they'll just leave, they'll leave a note. And I know several who have done that, and they've done a fantastic job. So what can you say to encourage those who have done that, to just uplift them?
Well, it wouldn't be the first time. I mean, my father grew up under his father, who raised 5 kids by himself.
Wow.
Way back in the 40s.
Wow.
So it's been something that's been happening. I mean, not that women are leaving households, but sometimes there's life, and she may die because of an illness or something. And it goes both ways. But I say that the role of the man or the role of the woman has to be respected, just like the role on a job. You have a manager, you have a worker, you have employees. So if you're not going to respect the man or the woman, respect the role and the responsibility that they have accepted, and support that role.
Right.
So I believe that God has designed it so that it could, things can come into sync, but the problem is we typically move a little bit faster than what God wants us to, and then we find ourselves trying to put it back in sync.
Right.
Meaning that we have children too early, we get the boyfriend too early, we get the girlfriend too early, we get the wrong girlfriend, we had the wrong kids with the wrong person. So we spend the rest of our life trying to correct it. So to prevent that is to slow down and ask the right questions in dating. Make sure we're making great choices on a daily basis.
And ask God for guidance.
Ask God for guidance. Now, that guidance may come in the form of a stranger telling you what to do or suggesting what to do. Yeah.
Let me ask you this, since you remember. I'll come to you first, and I'll come back to you, Mr. Kessler. What dating advice do you remember your dad giving you? You just in one line say, "Oh, my dad used to tell me about this."
Oh yeah. Don't go out there and make no babies. Don't bring me no grandkids. He just basically. My dad, he wasn't like the old birds and the bees type of guy. He's gonna be a straight shooter. Just, hey, don't go out there make no kids now. This that another. Mess your life up. That's what I hear him say.
That was his dating advice. What was your dad's dating advice to you?
My dad, he didn't give any dating advice. I got dating advice from brothers and people outside the home, which was typically the wrong advice, right? And then later on, like, man, I wish my dad had told me. But dad focused more so on work and living an example, which I wasn't always paying attention to. But the advice that I did listen to is, when you do man things as a child, then you be a man. So for those parents like myself who had a child very early, you have to step up to the plate. I had my first child at 17. At 4 years old, she gave him to me and I raised him with the help of my parents.
Yes.
And so he's doing well today.
That's where the village comes in.
Exactly.
And you remember getting any dating advice?
He just said, look at the mother, and then that's the size she's gonna be. He said, go look at the mother, that's the size she's gonna be. That's all he said. I really didn't understand that then, but I do now.
Right. That's right.
I've heard that quite often.
Yeah.
That's funny.
It was something you said a minute ago that really kind of stuck out to me, is that when the women are looking at the monetary again, and we went back to can he pay all these bills and this, that, and the other. But I thought when God created man and woman, it was a help me. So it was supposed to be help me. Don't mean come in here and pay all these bills. It's like because number one, before I came into your life, you had a house note, car note, these bills that you had, right? So what makes you feel that now that you have somebody in your life that's come to be your husband, whatever, now, so the question asks, when you get married or whatever, or are you in a relationship, serious relationship, and y'all move in together, who's responsible for paying the mortgage? 99% of the women in this day and time, because of social media and everything, all the influences of that, gonna tell you that, oh, he should be paying the mortgage. So if the mortgage is $2,000, your car note our cars are $2,000. If I pay the car notes and you paying the house note, everything's still getting paid. It shouldn't really matter whether I'm physically cutting the check for the house note, in my view. But my thing
In
is,
my view.
but just because you get married now, where do you get off on saying that now I should no longer be paying these house notes or whatever bills, now all of a sudden he's supposed to be paying everything. To me, as a family and y'all helping one another, I think that if y'all come together and devise a plan that works in your household, and what that looks like is going to be different in everybody's household. But at the end of the day, y'all not missing out on no meals. The bills are getting paid, and you still have something if you need to do something, if you want to do something.
It's whatever
it's
you
that
all
simple. It
agree
doesn't
upon.
have to be so complex. And just like what social media has made a lot of people to believe a marriage or a relationship should look like. We are not an ATM. We come to help one another, and if you're on a team, like in a competitive sport, no individual is going to always be successful by himself or herself. But when you become a team and y'all pool y'all's resources, y'all pool y'all's talents and abilities, then together y'all could conquer the world. Y'all could go out there and be champions.
But see, you also said earlier, when you have the help me, it's not always monetary.
Correct.
So if she's in there cooking, every day there's a meal when you come home. Sometimes the dad is the better cook. So sometimes he may be the one that does the cooking, because the lady just, I don't know, she may not even can fry an egg or anything, but that's something that you should talk about ahead of time, because there are a lot of good fathers that take on some of the roles that are considered to be mother's roles according to society, but it's whatever works. And I guess too much emphasis is placed on money versus on the love that we have for ourselves, the love we're going to give to the kids, how we're going to make the household work. It may not be equal 50-50. It doesn't have to be 50-50, but you give 100% of what you're able to give. If that's money, I give 100% of what I'm able to give. If that's making sure that phone bills, certain things are paid, that I'm cooking, that I'm putting papers in place, filing stuff, whatever we have agreed to, because it's not really, everybody say 50-50, but it's not 50-50, it's 100.
100.
Of me giving of my time, my effort, my energy, you giving 100% of your time, energy, and effort. And to me, a good couple, if you can, I always say for me, if there's love there, and my dad says love is a feeling, it's not a feeling, it's more of an action type of thing. That's one of the things I always remember getting from my dad, is an action. I could feel like if we had it together, I could live in a one-bedroom apartment. As long as we're together and we're in sync. It doesn't have to be a mansion, or anything of that nature.
I agree.
It doesn't have to be a mansion. So now, you said your dad, he gave you that good advice about what not to do. When people hear of Mr. Lavaille as the father, what do you want to be remembered for? What is the legacy that you want to?
Well, we were talking about that last year, me and my sister, and she asked me, do you think you're a good dad, a good father?
Mm-hmm.
I said, I don't know, let's ask the kids, because you get your
That's
grade
good.
there.
That's right.
So I have a son that's 43, and I have a daughter that's 23.
You look fantastic.
Oh, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
And so we called them, and I really thought the baby girl was going to give me such a great build-up. I said, let's ask. I said to my sister, I said, let's ask my daughter first, cause I'm afraid of what he may say.
You wanted the good grade first.
So we called her, we couldn't get her, and then we called him. He answered us. I said, son, your auntie wants to ask you a question. Be honest. I'm not gonna get upset. Just tell her the truth. He said, hey auntie. She said, was your dad a good dad? He said, Dad? Oh, Dad was great. He took me to the circus. He taught me everything. The only thing he did, he kept me with. The only thing he just wouldn't let me get an earring when I wanted an earring. I said, well, thank you, son. I didn't know you felt it. He said, oh, yeah, Dad, you're Superman. And hung up. Then here comes my daughter. So my sister said, niece, is your father a good dad? She says, Dad, he all right. I'm like, huh? She said, yeah, he's cool. I said, hey, your brother gave me such a bill. She said, yeah, big brothers, he's real sentimental. I'm not as emotional as him.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my goodness. So you get your grade from them. I mean, especially when, you can't ask them when they're kids, of course, but when they're adults. So overall, they said I was pretty good at.
So that's good. That's what matters.
So don't feel bad, because your son received his Cash App before the daughter didn't get her Cash App in
Stays
time.
in my pocket. That's why I really thought.
But by the time that y'all put him on the spot, by asking if he was a good dad or not, your son already received his Cash App or whatever you sent him for whatever was supposed to be said.
So one thing I hear from you, which is good sometimes that people forget, sometimes the kids just want the dad to take time to play with them.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be an expensive event. It could just be going to the park,
Right.
going to the circus, just anything to where you're spending time together. That's how you bond, and then that's how they learn that family is important and to spend time, with their family.
I just want to bring this up.
Go ahead.
And we as a society, men have been devalued. Because even when you think about, when we talking about Mother's Day and Father's Day is a bigger occasion. I mean, and most people.
But this year, I don't know what you all did last year, but this year, they're spending some billions of dollars is being spent on Father's Day. Because normally, it's not like you say, it's kind of like, we're not going to take Dad to eat. It's always, the restaurants are always crowded on Mother's Day. But this year, it's different.
Well, maybe somebody's waking up, because even us guys, we don't look at it as a big deal. We like, oh, okay, but we go out our way for the mothers, for our children too. But we're so docile now. Most of us, I've talked to many men, they say, oh, that's a big deal. Even the kids, some kids just say, Happy Father's Day, that's it.
Yeah.
We don't even flinch.
Yeah.
But it's just been, it, we've been devalued. And if you really understand why, even Jesus played Mary down because he knew this day would come where society would put women, the mothers, over the fathers. He played it down, you know. He kept Mary in a dust, but the Catholics said no. They built her up. So you have to watch how the enemy operates. And they did studies. When a father is in the household, kids are more social balanced,
Yes.
mentally balanced, and more successful. That's the studies, not experience, it's the
Right.
studies. So we've been
Correct.
devalued, and like Cynthia said, I'm glad they're recognizing.
Mhm.
Yes.
And females, I didn't say women, have devalued us because they're learning from the tree. The new tree that God told us not to eat is social media.
Mhm.
That's the new tree. If you teach your kids certain things, they learn more from social media.
Oh yeah.
That's the new tree.
But
Mhm.
fathers
Forbidden
are
fruit.
to be valued. I mean, you guys, it's not easy for what you do, and no one knows. I think a lot of times it holds so much in. You
Mhm.
know,
Yeah.
women are more expressive, so there's always that heaviness that's there. But truly, we have to honor those that are stepping up to the plate because it's not easy for everyone to, because we basically expect that the man is the head of the household and that he is going to keep it together. And like you said, the woman is the helpmeet, you know, to go along with that. So your kids have grown pretty big. So
Oh yeah.
what's the legacy that you, what do you want to be known for?
Well,
Or the dad, the kind of dad.
like the way I've been with my kids is, you know, I've always tried to provide the best that I could provide for them. I've also tried to find that balance with give them a little rope to, you know, to be able to hang themselves and to allow them the opportunity to see for themselves. Cause like my oldest is 22.
Really?
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And so when he was at LSU, when he was at LSU, I was like, listen, your mother and I gonna provide whatever, do whatever we got to do to get you in that school.
Mm.
But what I need you to do is get good grades, stay in that band, and just look for scholarships that would help with that out of state fee.
Mm.
But no, because he was coddled so much, he had never had a job. So, because his job was good, being a student,
Good grades.
being in the band,
Right.
and that's it.
Mhm.
So even with that, my son now will tell me, "Daddy, you were right. You know, it turned out." So that's a testament to me trying to lay a good foundation. He said, "You were right. I should have listened to you because it happened exactly like what you said." So then my middle child, I mean my second son, Kendall. I mean, I could not see Kendall for a year or whatever. It could be longer than that. And do you know that no matter how long it is, Kendall is going to, if we go somewhere, I'm gonna save some of this for you, Dad.
Oh.
I mean, he's the sweetest child I've ever met. Okay,
Just pick up right where you left
yeah,
off.
pick up where we left off. So just to know that he knows that I love him, even though we live in a different city now. Aria, just the sweetest little, you know, she, you know, whatever. But I would think that the daughter would be a daddy's girl, but Kendall is my twin, you know.
Wow.
And then now with Jawan, he's 6, and I'm not his biological father. However, I'm his father,
That's
you know, and he loves me just the same. I love him just the same. I don't show any difference between the kids. They're all, whether they're my biological child or not, they're all our kids.
And that's a
So-
good point. You don't have to be the biological father to
Right.
be a good father, to
Right.
be a good dad.
And so the testament is when I see them, their eyes brighten up, you know, when we're around one another. I don't always have to be, you know, like Kendall when he was here for his birthday one year. I was in a tough spot at that time, so all I could do for my child at that time was go to HEB, buy a cake, buy a few balloons at Party City. But the family that I surrounded him with to celebrate his birthday, that was enough for him.
That's good.
You know, he didn't need all these gifts and all of this stuff. So right there showed me that I had done something right.
Yes, and you don't want to ever put yourself in debt. You know, a lot of times parents put themselves in debt when they really can't, just to make kids, you know, buying all this expensive stuff.
Yeah.
It's not really.
Because people don't understand the pressure. A man a real man, you know, like Lavelle. I just want to make sure I
He's
acknowledge
known
him.
me over 15 years.
Yeah, I know him by his other code name, but I just want to make sure I acknowledge him in the public eye by the name that he wants to go by. But anyway, but just like Lavelle said, that there's a man, and then you got your boys out there, you know, but as man, you look at you. You done made me lose my train of thought. Yeah, I'll come back to that.
Well,
That's
So-
okay.
Blame it on me.
Yeah.
I made because
Yeah.
Kessler, I made the music.
I got you, right. There's no guarantees, right? When you, as a parent, are being responsible and raising children, and you're saying, "Well, I want them to take care of me when you get older."
Mhm.
There's no guarantee that the kid's gonna do that.
Right.
So true.
So, but the guarantee is that we all gonna perish. We all gonna pass on,
Mhm.
right? So the question was, what is
What do you
what
want to
do
be
we
known
want
for?
to be known
Yeah,
for?
your legacy in
The
terms of
legacy.
being a father.
Right, which is a great question. Because you can't predict what they're gonna say.
Like
You know,
Mr.
like
Lavelle.
Mr. Lavelle said, you don't, even though you may be favoring one kid over the other, like, okay, I know this one got my back. That may be the one that put you in the old folks home. But, you know, I'd like to be remembered as a father that was not afraid to say I love you.
That's
Mhm.
good.
Yeah.
A lot of grown-ups today have mommy and daddy issues that affect their marriages and relationships. So I want to be remembered as a father that was available to talk to my kids, that shared my real life story with them
That's
and
good.
experience, and kind of grew with them in terms of going from 0 to 12, and then from 12 to 20. I'm allowing them to experience life and develop on their own.
You know, one thing from listening, do want, I guess, kids, I keep hearing that just because your parents are no longer together, it doesn't mean that your father doesn't love you.
Yeah, right.
That's true.
Right.
So many times, we see when, for whatever reason, the couples go their different ways. Sometimes the mother, I don't want to say out of spite, but maybe just out of disgust, she finds a way to kind of like pull the kids, you know, in one way. And that's not really honoring the father, because he still can be a good father. You all may not have worked out, but that doesn't mean that he doesn't still love the kids.
Right.
So sometimes we have to think about how that also affects them growing up. You know, a lot of what they go through now, and I'm sure you can speak as a counselor, what has happened in the younger years is what affects the latter years there. It's certain things, I've heard people say personally, that's why I can say it, they have not been able to let go of that. You know, they constantly have seen that, and you're like, oh, as they grow older, they'll be able to get over it. No, because it was embedded too much, and a lot of times we brought the kids into drama that didn't necessarily need to be.
Yeah, what adults are doing, they're putting children in adult business. We need to learn how to co-parent effectively. Leave, like, whatever happened between you and your ex has nothing to do with that child. Both should learn how to co-parent and love equally. You know, but I'm not gonna just say, I don't wanna say females and males. Females would tell the children, your daddy didn't do this, and some males would retaliate, your mama's lying, she this and that.
Right.
You know, so you have to, we don't do that. Don't bring children in adult business.
Yeah, I heard something a lot more frequent. Your daddy didn't do this, wasn't one. Your daddy ain't, you know, expletive. You know,
right.
there's
I
a
do.
lot of things that the children are being used as a weapon. A lot of times weaponized as a way to get back. But what I was trying to say earlier before Lavelle got me off track,
Shame on you.
I was trying to point out the fact that as a man, the way we're raised to be a provider, to go out and do whatever we have to do to make sure our family is taken care of, they just don't understand the amount of pressure that men feel when we don't need you to spit in our face or talk down on us, because we beat ourselves up probably more mentally, internally, more so than anything you can say to me.
And that is one of the studies they were saying, that people don't realize the pressure that fathers are under because they just keep going. They keep moving. They're going to do whatever they have to do, like you mentioned earlier. By whatever means, I'm going to try and provide for my family. But there's pressure, behind that.
The pressures of not wanting to let anybody down, or wanting to be pleasing to your spouse or your children and all that. But it just been coming to me more and more and more these days that while we take on all of that pressure and we put so much energy and time into trying to please somebody else, that we've lost focus of the person that we really need to be pleasing to is God.
Yes.
And all these distractions keep us from developing that strong relationship with God, because if you're right with God, then hopefully those other things will fall into place. Because no matter what I can tell you, explain something to you, your truth is going to be your truth, whatever you feel that is. But if it's not true, I shouldn't even put any energy towards it. I should just continue going to the Lord and knowing that God knows my truth and He knows the truth.
Gotcha.
And so that's all that matters. So
before we wrap up here, I don't actually have it, but I'm just going to give it to you. So I'm going to give you your $500,000, your $500,000 and yours. You have 30 seconds to let me know what you would like to have with that $500,000, if you want a gift or if you want to give some of it back to the boys club or whatever. Kessler, I'll give you your $500,000 first. What would you like that? Or do you want me to pass it down here first?
Pass it down there first.
Okay.
Wow, the $500,000, I would just like to do some affordable living for housing. There's a lot of people that are homeless.
Yes.
So I would take that money and try to invest in some affordable living,
Okay. Well, I don't mind if you have a little dinner, treat yourself to a little dinner with that money.
Okay, well, I'll squeeze $10 out and then go to dinner or something for a grand. What they call a grand slam still?
It's
$10.
It's more.
Oh,
You're not
I thought it was
getting
$1.99
anything for $10 anymore.
Oh, okay. I thought the grand slam was $1.99. Okay,
No. Okay, sir. Like
$500,000, huh? So with my $500,000, I probably would want to invest more in the nonprofit work that I used to do that really drives into just the mental health and well-being as a whole, because my nonprofit dealt with childhood obesity and all of that. And so what a lot of folks did not realize is that obesity is not only derived from overeating or whatever.
That's right.
It could be depression, so many other things. So I would want to try to be able to invest in my nonprofit work that I'm planning on rejuvenating and getting back active in, so that we could help, because mental illness is really bad. People have been scarred in so many ways in their life, and it carries into every relationship you get into. So that's where I use my money.
And you can have half of my grand slam.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Kessler.
Yeah, so I think I would invest in affordable housing, and also mentorships to actually try to correct some of the wrongs or get some of the kids that are in single parent homes or broken families to show them the direction that they can go to actually become a great dad.
Okay.
And a mentor to someone else.
That's perfect. Well, thank you guys so much. Before I just say thank you, I just want to recognize that I gave you each $500,000, and not one of you offered to take me out to eat.
We felt if you was giving that kind of money, you could afford to take
But-
your
She ate already. She done ate
But
already.
we looked over at that finger of yours. We saw you was you already got a sponsor. You got a husband already. So we didn't think you was needing that
Oh, my
at dinner.
goodness.
Can I say something right quick?
It's just kind of, go ahead and then you can just take
I
us on
just-
out.
Okay, I just want to appeal to the wives and the children. Appeal to your heart. Tell your father, tell your husband. We never get, you guys never tell us. Not that we look for the accolades. Sit down and tell us today, say, you've been a great dad, you've been
That's
a great husband. We really appreciate everything you do, even though we haven't said it, we're
Yeah.
saying it today. Tomorrow, take that time, sit him down, look him in his eyes and say, we love you, you're a great man, and you've done so many things, we love you so much. Do that.
Right. Love it. And on that note, we just want to say we're thankful for Forever Grateful. Please keep tuning in. God is working. And never forget that all things are possible for him that believe it. Keep going, keep striving. There are plenty of people who want to support you. And just like Daryl says, all of us together, just reach out to someone. But first of all, just remember, it's all about God and he has your back.
That's right.
Thanks so much. Have a wonderful day. And we love you, fathers.
Thank you.